don't think meat, you only hurt the team. When you combine that line with Nike, just do it. That would be my advice.
What happens when Bull Durham and Nike get together? You get the second episode of the second season of the Slow County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Sweasey.
The thing about money is, I think psychologically, and I'm no expert, but there's certainly a fear of loss. It's bigger than the incentive of gain over time.
Sometimes there is a tendency to let fear-mongering have too much influence in our life. If you feel you have trepidation when it comes to being patient with your investments, then this episode of the Slow County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Sweasey is not only a must-listen to, but also one you should add to your favorites. It serves as a constant reminder. Speaking of meat, here's your host, James Bueno.
Slow County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey. Mr. Sweasey's here. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Feel like I'm sitting at a bar.
Yeah, right. JT, how are you?
Hey, thanks for having me back. I'm glad we're sitting at a bar.
I know, exactly. What's this kind of a bar than JP? How are you, sir?
Doing great.
You know, today's an interesting day. We talked about just a title for this episode, and Mr. Kingman said, "What, the scuttlebutt?" What?
Showing my age on this one, guys. It's a scuttlebutt on the street.
I think you're the youngest. You're the youngest one in here. You're not showing your age. So what's
I
the?
think Jay could give me a run for my money.
What's the scuttlebutt? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
so,
what are people talking about?
Okay. So this is just going to be real estate locker room talk. How about that? What's the scuttlebutt? No.
Boots on the ground. No.
Boots on the. It was boots on the ground. What's the scuttlebutt?
Flip-flops on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. Flip flops on the ground coming from Cayucas. All right.
We've all been at this a while, but John probably more than most and has a little broader base of knowledge than just real estate. So, John, how would you label what you're seeing out here today?
Well, you know, because I'm semi-retired, I have more time to spend reading the paper and watching the news. I probably do that too much. What I'm seeing and feeling out in the public is this one word, and the only word I can use to describe it is fear. You know?
Interest
There's
rates,
a lot of it.
Inflation.
Yeah, inflation.
Yeah.
What else are people afraid of right now?
Recession?
Recession, absolutely.
Yep.
Although we did see a little nice decrease in the inflationary number this week, going down into the mid sixes finally after being above 7 for almost a year. What else are people afraid of?
Losing their job.
Their job.
Yeah,
James looked right at me.
Boss.
Good. You're good.
We hear this
Joke.
from in the real estate business every day. We hear of fear of what?
Market crash.
Market crash, right?
We're not supposed to talk about that.
Not supposed to talk about market crash. How about in the stock market? What are we afraid of?
Sure.
Market crash.
Stock market crash. So let's talk about that a little bit for a second. I read this quote the other day: "Do not let fear guide your money decisions." Well, that'd be an appropriate quote to listen to in today's environment. Do not let fear guide your money decisions. Let's talk about the stock market briefly. What's the approximate average rate of return of the S&P 500 since 1950?
11%.
Yeah, plus or minus, right around 11%.
11.
Yeah.
Sounds higher than I would have guessed.
If you would look at the Dow Jones 40 years ago today, the Dow Jones was at 1,080 40 years ago today. This morning, it was at 34,200. That's a 3,000% increase in 40 years.
And in what you used to do, what does that mean? If you would have bought, how would
if I'd have put $1,000 in the market 40 years ago, it'd be worth 34,000 today. Or said with a little bit bigger numbers, if I'd have put $100,000 in the stock market 40 years ago, it'd be worth $3.4 million today. But the market last year went down 5.5%. So we're all what?
Oh my God, no.
We're scared of
It's
the
on
market.
fire. The
We're
world's coming
scared
to
of
an
the
end.
market.
Sure.
This expert I watch every once in a while, and he said, in an environment like this, what should we do when it comes to money? And the first thing he said is go back to basics. And when I think of going back to basics, the first thing I think about is, am I regularly saving? There was a book that I read many, many years ago called The Millionaire Next Door. If I ever put together a college curriculum on money, it would be the required reading of the class. And basically it says, live beneath your means and save 10%. Well, that was 40 years ago. Today, they would say save 15% of your income. And then he talked about controlling debt. So there's good debt and bad debt, right?
Yeah, I'd agree.
So what's bad debt?
Unsecured debt.
Credit cards.
Buying a car.
But-
100%. Yeah.
Buying a car, yeah,
Financing.
with zero
100%
down,
Zero down.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that depreciates the minute you purchase it. Right. And if you're leveraging that, if you don't have the cash to pay for it, you can't afford it.
Getting married, would that be bad debt?
Well,
No, we're not diving into those waters, James. Not diving into those waters.
We just went from the bar to the locker room. Yeah. Thanks, James.
James,
Yeah.
no comment.
Yeah.
Come on, James. Says the single guy.
Yeah. We'll stop. We'll stop there.
Don't dive in the pool unless you're going to swim with the shark.
So what's good debt?
Anything that appreciates, heaven for say. If I can buy something that's going to appreciate at a rate higher than the interest I'm paying on it, then I'm all over it. That makes sense, right?
What could that possibly be that we would know about?
What would it
Well,
be? Hal?
yeah, I mean, it's something that's a positive, an investment that could appreciate over time. Investing in real estate, you can invest in businesses, good companies. You can invest in yourself, self-improvement.
I don't think enough people do that.
Yeah, hello. Yeah. So anyway.
So the marketplace in San Luis Obispo County, I mean, depending on who you read, what numbers you look at, housing prices went up somewhere around 40% over the last 2 years, maybe a little more.
Probably some. Yeah.
So you bought a house for $1 million. You put the 20% down. So you put down $200,000. You bought it in 2020, let's say, for $1 million, and you sell it today for $1.4 million. You made $400,000 on what number? $1 million or 200,000?
You made it on 200,000, your investment, but you actually earned it on somebody else's money, the bank's money that you borrowed.
Right. So that's why that would be called good debt.
Absolutely,
right?
other people's money.
Back to the word fear. How do you overcome the fear of all the uncertainty in the marketplace? What I learned over time was to just look back at history, and that has to give you some feeling of confidence, like the stock market, up 3,000% over 40 years, yet it's down 5 in 1 year. Who cares? Buy more stock, right? Or buy more business, according to Warren Buffett. He doesn't buy stocks, he buys businesses. And in real estate, 53 of the last 62 years, from 1960 to today, home values have gone up in this country.
So that means to me, you can't win unless you're going to lose a little bit. You can never win 100% of the time. But you'd only have to win like 50, 60. I mean, in real estate, you're going to win 85% of the time. Mm-hmm. Probably in the stock market, it's probably similar if you over time. But if you're afraid you're going to lose, or we're not even going to say lose, if something drops in value over a period of time, and you're going to look at it just at that period of time, you're going to focus on that one drop, then you may never be a winner because you're not going to participate. We see it reducing participation because of fear.
There was a TV commercial many years ago by a financial services company. I can't remember which one it was. And it said, the real risk in life is in not taking any. Investing in real estate, investing in the stock market does come with some risk. 15% of the time during the year, your value of your property might go down. But again, I go back to, I don't focus on the 15%, do I?
Nope.
No, I'm going to focus on the 85% where it goes up.
Well, using that logic, like Vegas wouldn't exist if they focused on the time they took a bath on sports, like a sports outcome, and a lot of people won money. If they said that's it, we're out of the betting business, they look at the long play and the longevity of okay, we lost this one, but chances are we're going to win. More than 50% moving forward. That's how you're doing it. It's funny. I was watching a show the other day, and it had footage of Vegas in the 70s. It was the Rockford Files, and
classic.
And I was like, Vegas looked like that. I mean, it was like 6 hotels and big gaps in between it, and. Now, and that Vegas was built on your principle of they stay in the game because they know the odds are on their side. And if you can get something like an investment, like you say, with real estate, 15% of the time you might lose on it, but 85% of the time you're going to win on it. That's a no-brainer.
You know, I kind of was surprised that Vegas didn't shut down the one time I won $72. I mean, I pretty much thought I soaked them.
Yeah,
but they're still there.
You did. You soaked
Yeah. JT, one of your favorite quotes. It's not timing the market; it's time in the market. Talk to me about time. Like, what people see is they want to make a quick buck. They don't want to wait 30 years to make $100,000 or $200,000. So let's talk about time frames. Are you talking 5 years, 10 years? Like, what are the numbers that you're seeing in regards to time?
Well, you bring up an interesting point, and Jay alluded to it in, I think, one of our prior podcasts, and that's the difference between speculating and investing. Mm-hmm. I mean, by definition, I would call myself an investor. There have been times in my life when I've been a speculator, and it seems like all those times I've lost my shirt when I speculated. And so I learned at a younger age that I don't do that anymore. It's like I don't play blackjack anymore because I lost $1,000 when I was
$72.
young, and my wife almost divorced me, and that was the end of my gambling.
I bet $1,000 back then was 10,000.
Oh man, it killed me.
We have a game Friday night if you want to join us.
I'm out.
The gambling, it is almost like gambling. You know, day traders, speculators. I'm going to flip houses. Like, all these things come with inherent risk because the window is so short. The longer your window, the bigger your opportunity. Now, you can get out whenever you want. If you've got a 30-year window, you can decide when to jump out. If your goal is to get in and get out in a day to try and make a buck, you run a much, much higher risk of getting pinched.
I didn't answer your question though, James, and that's the time.
Right.
I would say the average American moves every 7 to 10 years. And my guess is the average American that buys a house and moves every 7 to 10 years historically has done very well. If you want to buy a house today and sell it in a year, I'm not going to get in the boat with you and say I'm all in on that one. But if you want to buy a house today and sell it in 10, give me a seat in the boat, man. I'm ready to go.
You got to think about it. Most careers are 30, 40, or I don't know. How long do you have to work these days? I've been working since I was 12. So anyway, it's a long term. So if you can do that and if you can deal with that, that's great. But it's certainly not as exciting. And fortunately, I mean, I saw one couple of great people said investing should be boring. You make a decision.
Yeah.
Successful investing is boring.
I wish everybody could see the look that JT just gave you right now. What was that for, JT?
I loved it.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's sure much more exciting to put down $100 and see if you can win 2 or 1 or 150, whatever. That's an adrenaline pupper, but there's other ways to do that. So
we're talking about fear in the marketplace. The guys that I run with, all they're talking about is opportunity.
Right.
Because so few people are willing to take the risks. This opportunity is presented all over the place. I mean, with businesses, with real estate, with development options, all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, we're building syndications right now to take down properties that other people just they're afraid to take the risk. Yeah. Development projects they're afraid to get into because they don't know where the economy is going to go, or they're afraid of what's going to happen
next week, next month. Yeah.
And so we're looking at okay, 3 years from now, where's housing going to be? What's the demand on housing? What are rents going to look like? Even though rates are, in fact, I'm borrowing money in some cases like the 10 and 11%.
Yeah.
Because once I'm in and I get it down, the rates come down, I can refinance out of the hard money and get good, clean, easy money for long term. My payment goes down, and all of a sudden I have a property that was negative cash flowing for me. Now it's positive in a much, much more favorable direction with a number of Ys that I can now use to leverage other properties. I mean, so there's opportunity for those that are willing to seek it out and understand it's a long game and to play that hand.
I was scared when the COVID lockdown hit, and I have some stuff in like a retirement town. Scared the heck out of me. And unfortunately, I said, well, I should probably pull some of this out and put it, and stupidest thing ever, right?
Yeah.
Just leave it alone. It's going to be fine, leave it alone.
When 2007, 8, all that hit, if you had money in a 401k and let's say you had $100,000 in there, you would have awakened 3 or 4 months later and had, $60,000. There are a lot of people who got scared and did what?
Pulled it out.
They pulled it out and they put it in 1-2% interest rates of return, and that 60, 14 years later is worth now 70. Now, had they left it in, the market went down to about 7,500, the Dow Jones, or the Dow Jones, and now it's back up to, as I said, 34.2. So their 100,000 is probably now worth 3.
When the market's crashing, I mean, that's when you double down. You automatically just invest when you have the money. And like the federal government's got it down. If you're a W-2 employee, your taxes are taken out before you get your money. The government gets paid first, and then you get what's left. Why don't you do that for yourself?
Right.
Pull that money off the top and put it in an investment account. Save to put a down payment on a house, or invest in something like that's like a Vanguard index fund that's going to compound for you. You're betting on the U.S. economy, for heaven's sakes.
You bring up a great point, and JT said it. He looks at history. So how many people go, oh, I wish I woulda, shoulda, coulda, did that back then, and now they look, oh, if I would have just done that then. Fear is an interesting thing. Let's say you're going to kindergarten. That can be scary, right? I'm going to a classroom, leaving my parents, that is a big deal. But if you don't do it, guess what?
Yeah. You're
kind of stuck in one place. So, a certain percent of kids are going to be nervous and going. Other kids are going, oh my gosh, good to go see, Billy and Joey and Mary and whatever, So it's how you approach the situation. And, the thing about money is, I think psychologically, and I'm no expert, but there's certainly a fear of loss. It's bigger than the incentive of gain over time. There was a great interview with Warren Buffett when Charlie Rose. It was like an hour long, just amazing. Here's this 91-year-old guy, still works. Does he have to work? No, but he loves getting up. He reads, he studies, he's brilliant, and he's really inspiring. And he talked about, like trying to predict the market, because, hey, if your fear of loss is you're trying to predict what the value of it is in the future and you think it's going to be worth less. And he said, trying to predict the market is a fool's errand. Smartest investor in the world, right? He says, I pick a good company that I believe in, and I don't care what people value it. I know what it is, and I know over time what it's going to look like. And this is a guy who's been through even if we have a recession or we're in one, who's been through world wars, he's been through riots, pandemics. I mean, he's been through some crazy stuff, 9/11. And you think of all those things, Y2K, everybody thought that was the end of the world. And what it turns out is, he said, I believe in the power of the human spirit and the American economy. If you believe that your child would be better off getting into kindergarten, because if he doesn't get to kindergarten, he doesn't get to first grade. If you don't believe that you can put some money aside and then leave it alone and let the system help, but it's not easy. I get it. I mean, we all have certain fears at certain levels, but it is a big thing. And the problem is, it is so in our face right now. Everything you look at, if you listen to anything about anything that's going on, you talked about all the negativity, it's microcosm. Yet here we are, got some healthy people, we've got relationships, we live in a great place, we have employment. What happens between our ears can be a real limiting factor. And if we just step back and look at it, and look at this 91-year-old guy who's just smiling and joking away, now he's worth $1 gajillion, but he's always smiling and joking. That's just, he loves what he does at 91.
He's never bought stock in his life. He buys companies, buys businesses, and he looks at the business, as Hal said, and he thinks, what are they going to be like 10, 20, 30 years from now? Not what are they going to be like next month. That would apply back to real estate. You find a house that you like, and Jay, you've said this before, marry the house and date the rate, right? Mm-hmm. You find a house that you'd like in a neighborhood that you'd like to live, in a school district where you want your kids to go to school. The bones of the house are good, and you like it. Buy it and stay in it. The worst thing that could happen is 30 years from now it's worth nothing, but you also paid off the mortgage, so you don't have any housing costs.
Right.
That's the worst thing that can happen.
Yep.
Okay, the next worst thing can happen is you buy a house and it doesn't go up or down in value, and 30 years from now you got an asset and a place to live.
Yeah.
Now, we know what the best thing that can happen is 30 years from now the house is worth 3 or 4 times what you paid for it, and it's paid off.
For most people, their home is their retirement plan.
It's a bank. Yeah.
But you think about the businesses, like you have a restaurant downtown. Do you think from day to day the owner goes, well, how much is it worth today? No. It's like, hey, am I
great point.
satisfying my customers? Am I making a profit? Am I providing income for people? And I'm providing value. Why do you call it the real estate market? We have houses. I need a place to live, or I'm going to buy one because I'm going to have someone provide it renting for someone else who wants to rent the house. And in 30 years, I'll use it as something else or whatever. So it's funny that we even call the real estate a market. It's like the restaurant market. No, I mean.
If you could get it to catch on and remove market from the terminology real estate and you call it just a real estate process or something.
The houses, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the process of living your life, or something along those lines. Removing the word market from it removes the fear from it. If you look at it,
if there was a pizza market, I probably wouldn't buy pizza because it was going to go down in value.
Oh, pepperoni.
There are a couple things that I've taken away from this conversation. One is, from Jay, and that's the incredible opportunities that exists out there today. And then second, how you said it a second ago, and that's, a little bit of belief in America and in the American economy. And, some of us kind of question that from time to time. Well, what are your thoughts about the American economy? Oh, well, I don't know. Man, I'm a little skeptical, Well, when I hear that answer, I always go, okay, so name another economy on the earth, of a country on this earth, that you believe in more than the U.S. economy. And then most people can't. It's just because I maybe I don't understand it. I don't study it.
Sure.
So I can't say with all my heart I believe in the American economy. And Warren Buffett does. I've learned over the last 20 years as I got into the financial services business and had to get securities licenses and those type of things and study it. I do too.
Talk about study. Warren Buffett, says the most important thing in Charlie Munger, who's 97, those guys together, they spend most of their time reading. They're just reading and studying. Do you think they understand how things work? And there's probably, we could use more of that.
Don't read the headlines, read the details.
Right. Yeah. Study. Yeah.
Is $500 a big plate of money?
Is that how much you started out?
I had $500 when I started a business and bought a house in the same month.
Good for you. Yeah. That's nothing.
That was called, I hope, it might have been bad debt in the eyes of the bank, but it was good debt in my eyes.
That was a risk. Yeah. They should have been fearful. I think that much.
So you guys are very successful investors yourselves. Let's give some advice. Like each one of you can give, people that are on the fence or fearful of buying or selling a house or investing. What advice, Jay? We'll start with you. What advice would you like to give?
The conventional wisdom would be save the money to put the down payment on the investment, because I'm going to focus on real estate. I'm bullish on real estate. Putting my money in the hands of people that I do not know, and entrusting that they're going to do the right thing. That would be a stock picker, right? I'll never be a stock picker. I'll never be the Warren Buffett to understand a company so well to go, I'm putting my money on that stock. I invest in the U.S. economy through a Vanguard index fund. I bet in the entire stock market, and I think that's the safest way to go. I'm bullish, though. Very little of my income goes towards those investments. All of my dollars and cents that I can spare go to investing in real property because of the fact that I get to leverage it. You can't leverage stock up to 80%, and I can on investment property. You've got appreciation on somebody else's money when you've got real estate. And I think the conventional wisdom is, well, okay, I want to buy a house, and it's $1 million, and I've got to have $200,000 to make that happen. I would suggest taking a look at options. Find ways first to get that money to buy the real property, because real property is far and away, I think, the biggest investment that I'm really bullish on. And other than that, I would say invest in something that, like you said, betting on the U.S. economy. I'm not a picker. I'm not going to spend the time, and it takes a lot of time and energy to understand a company inside and out. And if you don't understand finances and or the inner workings of the company, then don't try. That's a speculator's game. Go with an index fund.
Hey, I'm going to notice something about Jay here that he didn't mention, and maybe it just slipped across his radar. I think your biggest investment is in people.
No question about it.
And education.
I
right?
love
so
that.
we've known each other for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And we joined forces, just less than a year ago.
Yeah.
And there's nobody that invests more of his time and energy in people and education. That is your biggest investment. And your biggest return.
My major definite purpose on this earth is to change as many lives for the positive as I can before I leave it.
Yeah.
And that's what charges my batteries. And that we talk about living a full life, being happy.
Right.
Money doesn't make me happy.
Right.
I need it to make sure I can live and that my kids aren't going to be strapped with taking care of their ailing father. But the long and short of it is helping people. I can't.
Yeah, you improve their lives, And so, my savings account went up $200. How much, or whatever, some investment. Yeah, it's nice, but that doesn't want to light your fire. And that's not where your investments are. Your investments are in people. That's why I'm here.
Hal, your advice?
Learn, right? About, I had zero financial education. The only thing that got me where I am is just work. I worked a lot. And then I learned okay, I made some good money, but I'm broke because I didn't save it, or I forgot about you have to pay taxes, and you learn. And I had to learn that. It took me a while to learn that. So I worked hard, but it took me a while to figure out how to set some things aside for the future. Learn the discipline, study it. You have to self-educate. And what I've learned is learning about human nature and finances. I'm a weirdo now, because this is what these folks, that's how they do that. So be interested in improving your financial position and learn. And now it's free. Yeah. You can listen to, 60 years ago or 30 years ago, you can listen to Warren Buffett, or somebody that is a role model in how they live their life. So there's so much education out there. So learn and then, delay gratification.
Thank you. JT, close us out.
Oh, yeah. Ask me third after those two answers. Wow, those are great answers. My favorite movie in the world is an old baseball movie, Bull Durham. And in that movie, there's a line, and they say, "Don't think meat, you only hurt the team." And when you combine that line with Nike, just do it, that would be my advice. There's way too much thinking going on and not enough doing. And for all the things that these two guys just said, don't think meat, just do it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, you just think about all the times in your life. You say, God, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done that. If you followed that advice that JT just said on every single one of those decisions, you would never have to ask that question.
I sent Hal and James a quote earlier in the week from John Wayne's daughter. And we all know the Duke. And John Wayne's daughter is putting together a TV show in Nashville, and it has something to do with real estate. And she said, the biggest mistakes I made was not buying the properties when I could have. And she goes, it was all based in fear. And I wish I would have bought every single one of them.
So I have to share this. So Susan and I just had lunch today, and we're talking about saving money. And she heard about this thing where you get 100 envelopes. You number each envelope 1 through 100. Every morning or evening, you pull one envelope. You pull number 26, then you put $26 in. The next day, you pull number 48, you put $48 in. 100 days goes by after you do that. How much money do you have? Anybody know? JT, you're a math guy.
100 factorial.
Yeah.
Do it that.
$5,000.
Really?
$5,000 if you do that. So 1 to 100. Put that amount in the envelope every day.
Wow.
In 100 days, you'll have saved $5,000.
Sounds like a Ponzi scheme.
I think
I don't
well, you started off.
The envelope to
No, we're going to do it. Except I'm going to do it electronically. I'm an electronics guy,
Right.
so I'm going to side savings account where I don't see it every day, and then I'm going to pull a ticket or something. I'll come up with something, and then that morning I'm going to Venmo myself that money and not look at it. So in 100 days, I'll be $5,000 richer. See, JT. Immediate.
There you go,
100
baby.
days, my 100-day
Beautiful.
challenge.
I thought you were going straight pyramid when you said you take 100 envelopes, number them 1 through 100. I was like, whoa.
Well, it's just part of the Millionaire Next Door and what it teaches you, and that's live beneath your means and start earlier, saving money rather than later. Do you know how much money you would have if you started saving for a newborn today and you saved $8 a month at 10%? And the newborn today is probably going to retire at age 70. How much money would they have at 70?
Oh.
$8 a month.
At 10%
at
interest?
10% interest rate. You can put it in the market, average 11%, but they're going to only get 10.
I don't want to look stupid because I won't know.
Yeah.
I'm not even
No.
1.3.
Yeah, I'm saying at least.
Yeah, just over $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. $8 a month.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. That's
Start
great.
sooner rather than later.
Start.
Be patient, meet.
Be patient, meet. It's a baseball term. Nobody's
No,
going to get that.
I get everybody. There's a lot of baseball. You're not the only baseball player in SLO County. Come on, JT. Gentlemen, awesome. Thank you. Great conversation today, and appreciate everybody being here. Be safe. Thank you much, and we'll see everybody next time. Thank you for listening to the Hal Sweasey podcast. Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast. It comes out every Monday, so check for it in your feed for the latest information on the San Luis Obispo County market. The SLO County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and on halsweasey.com, where you can find current listings and other real estate tips. halsweasey.com, that's HALSWEASEY.com. I am James Bueno, Director of Marketing for the Hal Sweasey Group. If you're looking for anything real estate, give us a call, 805-781-3750.
Hal Sweasey is a licensed California real estate broker. DRE number 01111-911. The SLO County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey podcast is a production of AGM Podcasts. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.